Have you ever wondered what would happen if the sky caught fire? No, not a fire from lightning or some far off volcano. I mean a real fire. Flames dancing across the heavens like angry spirits, clouds turning to ash, and the sun refusing to go down. It sounds like something from a dream or a warning. Let me take you back. Back to a time before your grandfather's grandfather was born. In the heart of the land we now call Umungelecha, there was a village cradled between two ancient hills. The people lived in peace. They farmed, they danced, they sang songs to the wind and poured libations to the sky. They believed the sky was a living being, a giant spirit that watched over them, and in return they treated it like an elder, with respect, reverence, and constant attention. Every morning they would greet the dawn with a song. Every evening they would light a fire and whisper thanks into the smoke, letting it rise into the clouds. The sky, pleased with their devotion, gave them rain in the right season, warmth in the cold months, and gentle winds to guide their canoes. But peace, my child, is like a calabash filled with honey. Sweet, yes, but one careless hand can send it crashing to the ground. What broke that peace? What made the sky turn its face away? What made it burn with such fury that even the river spirits hid their faces? That is the story I'm about to tell you. The tale of Ekwueme, the boy who spoke to fire and listened to the sky. Now sit close and open your ears like the night opens for the moon, for this is the fire that burned the sky. In those days, Umungelecha was a paradise wrapped in green. The earth was soft and rich, the river sang lullabies, and the wind smelled of mango blossoms and palm wine. Chickens roamed freely. Goats nibbled on grass under the watchful eyes of mothers pounding yam. Laughter echoed across the farmlands, and at night drums told stories to the stars. The people knew how to live with the land. They planted with the moon. They harvested with the wind. And every first rain of the season was celebrated like the birth of a new child. But the one thing they held most sacred was the sky. You see, in Umun Chelecha, the sky was not just something above their heads, it was alive. They called it Chinwendu, the spirit that carries life. The elders taught that Chinwendu had moods. Joy brought rain, anger brought heat, and sadness brought silence. And so they danced for the sky. On the first full moon of the planting season, the villagers would gather in the central square, wear feathers and cowries, and sing the Igwe song, the one that calls the clouds home. They offered kola nuts, palm oil, roasted yam, and sometimes even the first fruit of their harvests, all for Chinwendu. Among them was a boy named Ekwueme, curious as a monkey and brave as a leopard cub. His eyes always searched the horizon, his ears caught every whisper of the wind. He would ask his mother, Mama, can the sky hear us when we sing? And Mama Olama, the village herbalist known for her bright wrappers and wise tongue, would smile and say, the sky hears even the silence between your words, my son. Ekweme believed her. He believed that every prayer rose like smoke and every dance left footprints in the clouds. He believed the sky was a friend until the day it stopped smiling. But the fall of peace never comes with a shout. It comes quietly, like a shadow creeping over your shoulder. And in Umungelecha, that shadow was about to stretch wide. It began with a silence, not the gentle hush of nightfall or the respectful quiet before a prayer. No, this silence was heavier. It pressed down on the village like a sleeping beast. The birds stopped singing, the trees stopped swaying, even the river, once full of laughter, flowed like it had forgotten how to dance. The rains there did not come. At first, the villagers thought the clouds were simply late, that perhaps Chinwendu had gone on a journey to visit the skies over distant lands. But as the days turned to weeks, the earth began to crack. The yam leaves curled up like frightened snails. The wells grew shallow, and the once humming insects vanished. Still, the people kept their hope. The elders called for more offerings. Drums were beaten. Kola nuts were cracked. Smoke from burning incense called into the sky, carrying prayers like wings. But the sky stayed mute, not a drop, not a whisper. One evening, Ekwemi stood by the edge of the forest, staring at the horizon. He noticed something strange. A flock of black ibacas, birds that usually never flew so low, were darting through the air like they were running from something. Their cries were sharp, restless. As they passed over him, one dropped a single feather, bright red at the tip, like it had been dipped in fire. He picked it up, confused. "Mama," he said that night. "The birds are acting strange. They're flying from the north, and they sounded scared." Mama Olama narrowed her eyes. She said nothing at first. Then softly, as if afraid the wind would hear, she whispered, "When birds fly from the north, they carry messages from the old world, and when they cry in fear, it means something has stirred the gods." The next morning the sky changed. It was still blue, but not the kind of blue that sings. It was bruised, a sickly, reddish blue, like a wound trying to hide. The people looked up, and for the first time in living memory, no one smiled at the sky. It happened on the seventh night of the moon's silence. The sun had refused to set. It hung there, swollen red and still, like a great angry eye, watching, accusing. The people gathered in confusion. Some prayed, others whispered old stories of omens and gods forgotten. The elders sat in silence, staring at the horizon like they were listening for a voice they hadn't heard in decades. Then, without warning, the sky cracked. Not thunder, no. This was different. It sounded like a great calabash splitting open, loud, dry, and final. And then came the flames. From the heart of the clouds burst blue fire, not like any fire the villagers had seen before. It danced like water, curved like a snake, and shimmered with colors that had no name. It rained down slowly at first, drops of flame that sizzled into the earth, leaving behind circles of black glass. Panic took the village. Mothers screamed for their children. Goats ran wild, their eyes rolling. Drums were knocked over, calabashes shattered. The sacred tree by the shrine caught the blue fire, and instead of burning to ash, it melted, bending like wax under the noonday sun. Ekwueme ran to Mama Olama's hut, shouting, "Mama, Mama, the sky is burning." She stood at her doorway, face lit by the fire above. For the first time in his life, Ekwueme saw fear in her eyes. "This is not a fire of man," she said quietly. "This is the sky remembering what we forgot." "What did we forget?" Ekwueme asked, his voice trembling. But before she could answer, the flames flared brighter, spreading like a storm. The river, oh, the proud Ojiala River, which had never run dry even in the harshest harmattan, hissed and steamed as the blue fire touched it. Within moments it vanished. Gone. Not a trickle left behind. The air grew thick and bitter. The drums of the sky, thunder without sound, pounded through every chest. People fled. Some ran into the forest. Others tried to hide in the earth, digging holes, burying sacred objects, calling on names even the ancestors barely remembered. But the sky was not punishing them with anger. No, it was reminding them that there had once been a promise. And when a promise to the sky is broken, the fire comes not to destroy, but to wake the sleeping spirit of man. In that chaos, that burning blue chaos, only one heart remained still. One boy stood beneath the flames, holding the red-tipped feather close to his chest. Ekwueme. And in that moment, the sky noticed him. That night, as the village groaned beneath the weight of fear and flame, Ekwueme did not sleep. He sat alone beside the dry riverbed, clutching the red-tipped feather. The wind was hot, yet it felt cold. Around him, the air flickered like smoke, not from fire, but from something older, something watching. And then he heard it, not with his ears, but deep within, a voice like drums in a cave, soft but impossible to ignore. It whispered his name, Ekwueme. He looked up, and there, standing just beyond the broken shrine, was a figure, tall, cloaked in a robe of sunlight and shadow. Its face was like a mask of flame and stone, but its eyes were suns. "Who are you?" Ekwueme whispered. The figure stepped forward, and the very ground warmed with each stride. "I am Na Anyanwu," it said, "spirit of the sun, memory of the sky." Ekwueme tried to bow, but the spirit lifted a hand. "You do not need to kneel, not yet." And then the truth spilled like water from an old calabash. Long ago, the sky had made a pact with humankind. It gave them fire, not just the one that burns in wood, but the fire that warms the soul, the spark of wisdom, the light of balance. In return, the people were to honor the earth, protect the rivers, and never let pride rise higher than the clouds. But the years passed, and the old songs were forgotten. Offerings became bribes, prayers became noise. The people no longer danced for the sky, they danced for gold. They plucked fruits before their time, they took Sediuk and took and took. And now the sky remembered. Ekweme listened, heart heavy, the red feather pulsing faintly in his palm like a heartbeat. Why are you telling me? He asked, his voice small in the wind. The spirit's gaze burned brighter. Because you remembered to ask. Because while others shouted to be saved, you listened. The fire does not come to destroy you, child. It comes to cleanse, to wake, but there is still a choice. Ekweme swallowed hard. What must I do? The spirit pointed to the horizon, toward the tallest hill, Uzo Idemili, where the clouds were born. Climb! At the summit you will find the ember of truth. Take it, offer it water, and speak with a voice that remembers what your people forgot. The fire flickered once, and the spirit was gone. All that remained was the feather, now glowing from within, and the silence of a boy who knew what he must do. Before the first rooster crowed, Ekweme set off. He carried nothing but a gourd of water, tied in a raffia sling, and the red-tipped feather, now warm in his hand, as if guiding him. He didn't say goodbye to anyone, not out of fear, but because he knew this journey was not one that required witnesses. It was between him and the sky. Uzo Idimili, the hill of the first breath, towered far beyond the village farms. No one climbed it anymore. The elders said it was where the gods once came to listen to the heartbeat of the world. Its path was steep, wrapped in vines and silence, with trees that whispered in tongues older than the village itself. Ekweme climbed. The wind howled like a flute of the ancestors. His feet bled. Thorns tore at his legs. But he climbed. At one point the feather glowed brighter and he heard laughter, not cruel laughter, but the giggle of a child echoing from the rocks. The sky was watching, testing him. He pressed on, his breath ragged, the weight of his people on his shoulders. Finally he reached the summit, and there, floating just above the ground, was the ember of truth. It was no larger than a mango seed, but it pulsed with light and heat that felt alive. Around it the air shimmered, and above it the sky flickered between flame and ash. It was beautiful and terrifying. Ekweme knelt. He placed the gourd of water gently before the ember and whispered, "What forgive us." Then he untied the cork and let the water flow. At first, nothing happened. Then slowly the ember dimmed, drinking the water like a thirsty traveler. The blue flames above began to waver. The sky, once burning with fury, sighed. A long, deep sigh that rolled across the land like thunder turned soft. And then it rained. Not just a drizzle, but thick, heavy drops that struck the ground with joy. Steam rose from the village below. The trees drank, the earth wept, and the flames vanished. The sky, now cleansed, wept with it, and in the middle of it all stood Ekweme, soaked, shaking, and smiling through tears. He had remembered, and the sky had listened. When Ekweme descended from Uzo Idemili, the world had changed. The blue fire was gone. The sky, once wounded and red, now glowed soft and gold like warm palm oil. Rain fell gently, not in a flood but in a rhythm, as if the sky was singing again. The people of Umungelecha emerged from their hiding places. Some dropped to their knees in the mud. Others danced right there in the fields, soaked and barefoot, letting the water wash away their fear. When they saw Ekweme, no one spoke. They simply watched, eyes wide, as he walked through the village, soaked to the bone, holding the now quiet feather. His steps left prints in the wet earth, and some said that where he walked, green things sprouted instantly. Mama Olama was the first to embrace him, her arms wrapped around him like bark around a young tree. "You did it," she whispered. "You reminded the sky who we truly are." At the center of the village square, where the shrine had once stood, a tree began to grow. Not planted, not summoned, it simply rose. Tall, straight, with broad leaves that shimmered silver in the rain. The elders called it Okwe Chinwendu, the tree of the sky's heart. Its fruit glowed faintly at night, and its bark was cool, even in the hottest dry season. The people rebuilt their shrines, but this time they offered not just food and song, they offered silence, reflection, and gratitude, the way it used to be. And as for Ekwueme, he never claimed to be a hero. He returned to the rivers, the farms, the drums, but the sky never forgot him. And some nights, when the moon is heavy and the clouds drift low, the elders say you can still hear the sky whisper his name, carried gently on the wind. So, the next time you see the clouds darken or the thunder rumbles without rain, don't just look away. Listen. The sky remembers. It watches how we live, how we take, and how we give back. It doesn't burn because it hates us. It burns when we forget who we are and who we promise to be. And if ever again the sky burns, may there be another Ekwueme, someone brave enough to climb, to listen, and to speak truth with a humble heart. Because the fire that burned the sky was never just fire, it was a reminder